technology needs in each track of the chosen field. Again, I wouldn't have thought about 4 or 5 years ago that the promotions person needs to understand how to do remote broadcasting. But once we assessed that, we said, oh, okay, well, let's start teaching that to our people who want to do promotions. What are the available resources and facilities? Again, as faculty members, that includes our time. Because if we're going to provide some of this personal attention, you know, I've had anywhere from 40 students, 45 students where I am in my program right now to about 70. I'm a lot better when I have 40 to 45 students. I think we all understand that, but our universities aren't going to allow that. They're going to keep stuffing people in there. All right. So what are our available resources? What are our facilities like? And then finally, how much of a commitment are we willing to make? Are we going to get really serious about teaching with technology so that every student gets, or at least the majority of the students who choose to meet us halfway by putting forth the effort, that those students get what they need for their chosen field? Now, throw out this question. In teaching, which comes first, the script or the technology? What do you think? Okay? You do very well in my class. I teach this way a lot. And it's funny to see the students actually fight over it. The script and the technology, which comes first? I mean, the considerations are the script. You need to have a plan as you move forward, so you're not just using the technology, but if you don't know what the technology is capable of, how do you write the script? Because you're planning to do things you can't do. Okay? But which do you teach first in your class, if it's kind of a survey course? Do you start with writing or do you start with the technology? Let me give you, I don't know what the answer to this is. If you've got this figured out, please speak up now. I actually do this 2 different ways. In radio, I start in one place, and TV, I start in the other. In radio, I teach the technology first. And the reason is that radio is a much more personal medium. I tell students all the time, if you don't play nicely with others, go to radio. You can be in the studio and you wouldn't be a good colleague, that's too bad, but you can get by with it because you're the only person in the studio. TV, not so much. You know, we've all had those production crews that, you know, this would be a great place to work if it wasn't for you. So in radio, we start with the technology because we really want to focus on, for those who want to be on the air, their performance. And what we've learned is, until the technology becomes transparent, until it becomes invisible, they're so worried about what button to hit next that they can't focus on what's coming out of their mouth. So we start with the technology. Make them comfortable with technology, then we can teach their on-air skills. Okay? And I have a couple come out every year. They get jobs in really good markets as air personalities. You know, we still, I know a lot of people are down on radio. We still push radio. We really do. And our students are benefiting from that. In television, just the opposite. I got a class right now, we're about 7 weeks in, it's about ready to mutiny on me. Because the deal is, until you learn to write lead sentences, I'm not letting you touch the technology. In TV, for whatever reason, I believe that until you have the script or an idea of how to do this, you don't know what to do with the technology. You may have the skills to use a camera, but you have no idea what to look at when you look through the lens. Which is right? I don't know. But it works for me. You've got to figure out, you know, which to teach first, because I don't know that you can teach them side by side. Students get overwhelmed if you do that. Okay? My opinion. So how do you do this from a comprehensive standpoint? And this is where I think universities struggle, at least ours does. Because by a comprehensive approach, what I mean from that is, if I've got a student for 3 or 4, 5, or 6, or more years, how do I make sure that they're where they need to be when they graduate? So it's not just my class. It's how does my class fit into everything else we do? It's how do I make sure when you come in as a freshman and you take that radio course, or that television course, or that new media course, whatever the case may be, how do we make sure that once you start here, that you're where you need to be by the time you graduate? Our approach has been pretty much that we start with teaching them how to do it. That would make sense. Then we let them do it. We're all about experiential learning. You know, I just taught you how to run a control surface. Okay, great. Now go do it. Figure out whether or not what I taught you is going to work for you. Oh, 5 steps to putting something on the air. Yeah, I get that. You really have to do those in the right order. It doesn't work so well. Okay, yeah, that's true. If you started before you turned it on or potted it up, that's not going to work. Then you must challenge them to do it better. Feedback, feedback, feedback. Then, once they've got it, make them teach it to someone else. Our program is heavily based upon mentoring. You know, there are 2 sayings that I throw out. One is, when one person teaches, 2 people learn. If our juniors and seniors are going to be incredibly effective professionally, they need to make sure they master the concept, and they can't master it until they can teach it to someone else. That also gives that first or second year student another resource beyond just being the instructor. Okay. This is how I talk about what are your resources. I don't have that much time. I like the time that I do have to be spent with students. That's why I'm at the university. Okay. But if I can get my juniors and seniors to teach them, they're learning, and it gives me another resource that I wouldn't otherwise have. We take all of our first semester students in radio and television, and they're paired with an upper level student. TV we call it shadowing, radio we call it mentoring. And part of their grade is actually tied to how well that younger student does. Not a lot. And then finally, whether it be through projects or through our television channel, through our radio, we do this across the board. We have our own public relations firm, we have our own student newspaper, whatever the case may be in our department. We're going to simulate the outside world. You know, one of those students that was with me last night at the transmitter site, he's been with us now for 6 semesters in radio. His basic project this semester is he's building a studio from the ground up. You know, here's a room. I've ordered the furniture. Here's what it needs to do. Every 2 weeks, meet with me. He went through, talking with programming to see exactly whether the requirements were all right. He went through and Friday gave me all the quotes for the equipment he needs. Actually came in a lot cheaper than I thought. Proud of him for that. I budgeted more money. He's done his rack diagrams. He's done his wiring diagrams. He's ready to go. What a great portfolio builder. We did this a couple years ago with a student, and he got a job right out of school as the engineer for 6 clear channel stations in San Jose, California. Called me, told me his salary, company card, company phone. Thanks a lot. Need anything, let me know. He was one of those kids who want to be a DJ. It's not good. Not good at all. Nobody would listen. Some other maybe. That was about it. So we push him in the right direction. Okay. So again, we do about 70 sports broadcasts a year, remote broadcasts. We do another 30 just remotes. Content remotes during the music. Okay. Our students are doing all the engineering on those. So our promotions people know. Some specific ideas. This kills me. I'm fortunate I have a wonderful administrative assistant. She keeps me upright on most days. She handles my calendar. About 3 times a week she comes and just shakes her head. There's no way you're going to get all this done. No way. You have shoehorned too many things into the day that will not fit. Okay. Let's see.